Everyone, and welcome again for the second preview this afternoon. We are joined by, we want to say Maddie or Matt, or how do you want to go by?
Mikey.
Mikey. I'm sorry, Mikey. I'm sorry. My
No,
bad.
you're good.
The Arizona Diamondback. This is still my morning, and I haven't even had a cup of coffee. So I'm still,
No problem.
I'm still awake. You can still see my sleep apnea mask thing right here. So, yeah. We'll get everything lined up with getting your roster. Why don't you give us a little background of fantasy and a little get to know you part first from there?
Sure. So I have played fantasy baseball most of my life, but up until last year, I had never played a 30 team league before. It's always been, I just had one team with a bunch of childhood friends, 12 team league, and that's really all I've ever done. But I've had pretty good track record there. And last year got invited to join a two different 30 team leagues. Figured I'd take my shot at it, see how I do, and I really enjoyed it. I joined both leagues as an expansion team, where other owners must have backed out for whatever reason, and I inherited really terrible teams, no farm system, pretty bad players, and just through a bunch of trades and free agent pickups throughout the year, just by staying active, I actually won both leagues. So both when I joined, both leagues pretty much told me like it's going to be a 3 to 5 year rebuild. That's just what happens in these leagues. But I ended up winning both of them. I just didn't think it was very competitive in general, so I wanted to look for more of a challenge. And I saw Brendan post this on one of the, I think it might have been the Fantrax forum, and it seemed like a perfect opportunity. So this league already, I can tell just by the activity in the chat and the amount of trades and the action on the waiver wire, it's not even in the same ballpark as the other leagues that I did. But this is what I was looking for. So I think this will be a really fun league. It seems like a great group of guys that are in it. Everybody seems knowledgeable and active, and I'm excited to see how I do against step up in the competition.
What those the other 30 team leagues, were they like dynasty, or how
Yeah,
were
so
they
they were
set up?
both dynasty. There was no contract, so it was
Okay.
basically keep forever. There were definitely some teams in that league who, just by looking at the rosters and the farm system, it looked like they hadn't even checked their team in 3 or 4 years. So it just was not even, it wasn't even enjoyable. It was
Yeah.
just too easy.
Yeah. And that I can tell you, I know this won't be an issue with you because of how active you are, but for some people who may listen who may not know this, inactivity will not be accepted. I will tell
Yeah.
you that much in this league.
Yep.
I'm assuming you already knew that, but that will not be accepted at all.
Yeah, I talked to Brendan a while before joining just to get a
Yeah,
feel for the league. I actually just this just hit me right now. He was planning on joining this because he had some questions for me, but I assume he's probably still working. If we did it early in the morning Wednesday, he was planning to join.
he now that you say that, he told me to ask you a question,
Okay.
and he told me to ask you about a possibility with a baseball team. Oh, did I lose you? Uh-oh. Uh Uh-oh. Well, this just got weird. Uh well, let's see. Oh, okay.
Sorry, sorry about that.
It's all right.
Here's the downside of doing this on my phone. I was getting a call and it disconnected me. So hopefully that
You're
doesn't
fine.
happen again.
No, I was like, when he told me
So
to
I
do
didn't hear
this.
you started saying he wanted to ask me a
Okay, I
question.
was
I
like,
got I
okay.
got cut off before I
I
even heard
thought
what
I
it
was
was.
okay. It's something in relation with a possibility with a baseball team.
Oh yeah, I had a feeling he wanted to talk about that.
Okay.
Um So
You
yeah, I
don't have
had
to. I've made
no,
that vague enough. Yeah,
no,
go
it's
ahead.
totally fine. So it was probably about 10 years ago now. I think it was 2015. I could look, I could actually pinpoint the exact date that it was. So I interviewed after college to work for the Cleveland Indians front office. And it was the day that I went there for the interview was the day before they traded Brandon Moss to the Cardinals. So it was right around the trade deadline. It was in July, I want to say 2015. It was right, whatever it was the day before Brandon Moss got traded because that's what was going on while I was there. And it was shortly after Francisco Lindor got called up to make his major league debut. So that's what all the hype was at the time. But long story short, I interviewed to work in their analytics department. And at the time when I went there to interview, their analytics department consisted of two people. I would have been the third one. I'm pretty sure now that department probably has 50 people in it, but I would have been number three in their analytics department. And the reason I got offered the job and the reason I did not accept the job was because it was an unpaid internship for 6 months. There was no guarantee of a full time job once it expired. And they wanted me to uproot my life, move to Cleveland. And I live in New Jersey. So
Okay.
I went to school in Philadelphia, live in New Jersey, and they wanted me to move to Cleveland, live there for 6 months, unpaid. So I would have had to figure out how to pay for rent, where to live, food, everything like that, making no money there for 6 months. And with my student loans and just general cost of living, I couldn't swing it. And I said to them, if there's any way you could even pay me minimum wage, like I will come, I'll figure it out. And they weren't willing to do it. So I turned it down. And after the year, so after that year, coincidentally, Mark Shapiro, who I did interview with when I was there, and he had been with the team for like 25 years at that point. He left after that season to go to Toronto for like head of baseball operations, maybe. And then the two guys in the analytics department both got promoted. The main guy got promoted to like head of baseball operations. The junior analytics guy got promoted to the main analytics guy. So there's no doubt in my mind, had I taken that job, I would have just moved up, probably been the junior analytics guy the next year, and who knows where I'd be in a front office now. But not how it worked out. Now I work in the steel industry. I took over my family business, been running that for the last 5 years. And I always say I never would have met my wife had I gone that route. So I don't really necessarily regret it, but always think in the back of my mind if I could be higher up in a front office right now. But the big thing why they really liked me in that interview is the guy who I interviewed with mainly. His name was Keith Woolner. I'll never forget that. He at one point was like a baseball prospectus writer who they hired maybe 10 years before my interview there to run their entire analytics department and really bring analytics to Cleveland because prior to that they didn't even have a department there. So he created a stat called VORP. It's VORP. It stands for value over replacement player. And that's what he was known for. I'm pretty sure you could Google that and see he like created that stat. And that is almost the exact same stat that I'm big into analytics. That's like almost the exact same stat that I use when I value my players. And why in this draft in particular, I paid up for the top relievers in Edwin Diaz and Mason Miller because of a stat exactly like that. I just think that the way our league scores players, with saves being worth 7 points, and there's only a handful of guys in the league who you can consistently count on to get saves. I feel like their value over replacement player is just unbelievable. And I just think those guys are severely undervalued in our league for that reason. But they really liked what I had to say in the interview. And my fame to claim in that interview was, or my claim to fame was, like I said, Lindor just got called up. He was the hype. Everybody was obsessed with him in Cleveland. And I said to them, because they asked me who I liked in their system, how I valued prospects, everything like that. And I told them, for as great as Lindor is, you guys have somebody else in your system nobody's talking about who's even better than him. And that guy turned out to be Jose Ramirez. So they were really, really happy that I said that because those guys were just as high on Ramirez as I was. And the general public at that time didn't even know who he was. He wasn't even a top 30 organizational prospect at the time when I went there.
I got you. I got you. Well, that's it's so interesting you say it because with the last owner we had, Landon, he's like, he wanted to step up, and you're the same thing, you want to step up your competition too.
Hmm.
Um, that kind of story that shows how knowledgeable the owners we have in this. I'm trying to think of it. I'm horrible at the English language. That we've assembled. Uh,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
that's the truth because somebody who's not this into it, I mean, it takes a certain kind of person to want to do a league like this and spend $400. So
Mhm.
it, yeah, you're gonna have a competitive league just based on that.
Yeah. I think me and you, and there might be a couple others, are the ones who went like reliever heavy. I wasn't as top end as yours, but
We'll
yeah,
get to
no,
that once we start looking at my team, but mine
yeah,
was it was way heavier prior to a couple trades that
yeah,
I made that some of which I regret, but
yeah. So
I still
let
feel pretty good about it.
let's get into that then without further ado.
Okay.
Just like with everybody else, we start the hitters. Let me switch my mouse over here. Uh,
So while we're looking through this, something that I wanted to bring up to you, it was my only real gripe in your rankings. So when you and Alan were doing the show, obviously I was second, he came in first. I just wanted your perspective to explain to me how his team could possibly be better than this. Now, and I'm going to go through one by one here for the lineup. So he's got me beat in left field, which is a big gap on my team with the Jerickson Profar suspension. So fortunately, I have Jake Fraley to step up. He's somebody that I really liked as a depth guy on my bench. I don't love him nearly as much as an everyday starter, but at least I had him to be able to plug in there. So he is projected to be the strong side platoon option in Tampa Bay. I think he
yep.
should be decent enough. He'll be able to hold his own. If he's the worst guy in my lineup, I can live with it. And one thing I will say about him is I have him projected to score more points than any other hitter in our league who's signed for a $1 contract. Aside from the top prospects like Connor Griffin, I think will outscore him when it's all said and done. But there's a handful of guys like that. But in terms of the non-rookies, I have Fairly ranked as the best hitter in our league signed for $1. So I liked him as a bench guy. I think he'll hold his own there. But Allen has Cody Bellinger in left field, which is obviously way better. So he's got me beat by a lot in left field. But I'm looking at it as I cancel him out in right field with Ronald Acuna over Jeff McNeil. So I'm thinking those two gaps are the same, and let's just call that a wash and then look at the rest of the positions. I've got Hunter Goodman at catcher, who I think is going to outscore Kyle Teal by 140 points. I've got Freddie Freeman at first base, who I think is potentially a top five overall first baseman. He's got Colt Keith there. I think Freeman outscores him by 180 points. I've got Marcus Semien at second base, who I think is going to be a top 10 second baseman this year. I have him ranked seventh on my list, 166 points more than Gavin Lux. I've got Trevor Story at shortstop, who I also think is going to be a top 10 shortstop. I've got him projected to score 140 points more than Chase Meadroff at shortstop for Allen. I've got Alex Bregman projected 250 points higher than Jose Caballero. I've got Michael Garcia projected 50 more in center field over Kyle Stowers. And at utility, I've got Adolis Garcia projected over 200 points more than his best utility option, which is going to be somebody like Cody Clemens or Luis Angel Acuna. So obviously, I'm going to be biased towards my players and my projections, but I want you to say if you think that anywhere other than left field, his hitters are actually better than mine. I've got five guys on my team in Acuna, Freeman, Trevor Story, Michael Garcia, and Alex Bregman that I have projected more points than his best hitter in Bellinger.
So here's the thing. We all have personal biases. A lot of the guys that you like, I've just all I never want to say I'm out on players, but they're just players that I never draft. Like Acuna, I've never drafted. Story, I've never drafted. Bregman, I've never drafted. They're just guys that, yes, they are talented and they do score a lot of points and produce. They're just always been guys I've been out on. So it's just my personal opinion. And I do appreciate that you are at this point in the season and you should love your team. I mean, you just drafted it, This is the team. You didn't inherit it, like Landon, he kind of inherited his
Yeah.
halfway through, This is the team you have. You should love it, and it should be the team you think should be in first. And I totally agree with that. I think I don't remember. Did I grade your hitting worse than his?
You did. You had him a 70 grade hitting, and
Okay.
that is
What
something
was
that
yours?
I
65?
think 65.
Okay.
And just
Now
looking
what
at his team, like someone like Caballero, Meadroff, Gavin Lux, Colt Keith, that's his entire infield. Those guys are like bottom end starters to me.
Now here's the other thing too. What I took this into account, and I think we covered that on the pod. What does his bench and versatility look like?
That is probably better than mine, especially after the Profar thing.
Okay.
But I mean, not even crazy. He's got a backup catcher, Nick Fortes. He's got Luis Angel Acuna, Miguel Andahar, Chase DeLauder, and Robert Hassel.
Okay. So he has. I'm trying to look. Okay, you have Alcantara, who
Yeah,
I
so
don't
for
know
my
what his.
bench, Alcantara is obviously he's probably going to start the year in the minors. He's an
Yeah.
injury away from even being
Yeah. Nope.
relevant.
Yep. And I know that as a
Um,
Cubs fan.
yeah, so Blaze Alexander is at least going to start the year replacing Jordan Westberg, which is another injury that totally killed me. Like
Mhm.
if my lineup has Profar and Westberg in it,
No,
then
it's completely. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
completely different. So Alexander, I don't love him, but at least he's going to get opportunities, especially in the beginning of the year, and he can play three positions. Tyler Locklear is someone who's very under the radar that I personally love.
Mhm.
So this guy last year he was the headliner in the trade
Yep.
that sent Eugenio Suarez to Seattle.
Yep.
So he came from Seattle, and in AAA last year, he hit 316 with 19 homers, 25 doubles, 82 RBIs, and only 95 games played. OPS a 943, 401 on base percentage. His 4 years in the minors prior to this trade, his OPS was over 850 every one of those years. So he had a torn labrum at the end of last year. He's not going to be back until like April or May. But the Diamondbacks first baseman is a 40-year-old Carlos Santana,
Yep.
who is probably not going to last the entire season. So my thinking is once Locklear's back from injury, he's going to have the chance to run away with that job. And I think he could end up being an impact player that I have for $1 and could end up locking up long term.
No,
So
I like him. I know of him, and I liked him in the. He was
yeah,
the Mariners system, right?
yep,
If I
he
remember right. Yep.
was.
Yep.
So
So.
and like I have normally this isn't my strategy, but at least for right now at this point of the season, I loaded up my minors with a bunch of guys who have a chance to break camp or at least will be
Mhm.
up early just to see how the roster shuffles out because I'm figuring that I'm going to gain two spots with moving Locklear to the DL and Alcantara to the minors. And some of these other guys will get moved up. Dominic Smith, I actually think is projected to be the Braves DH with Profar going down. So I like that. I bid $2 on him. I figured there'd be more competition, but I think the Rangers were the only other team to put a bid in. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I'm expecting him to get at bats.
Did you have a full 26 after the auction?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I had a full team and full minors after that as well.
So a little behind the hood of when I'm looking at a roster too and I'm grading it, the things that like I said, the I look at for versatility. Okay.
Hmm.
That's just what I look for. Like all of these guys are great, okay, don't get me wrong, but they're locked into one spot. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Like there's not much flipping and flopping that can go around. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh yeah,
Acuna is
Miguel Garcia
yeah,
is the only one.
yeah, I'm like Helgars
So
and Fraley. And I like Fraley too in his time in Cincinnati. I mean, he's gonna get a little bit of a downgrade, obviously, in part moving from Cincinnati to Tampa Bay, but he
yeah,
produces. No, I like him a lot. I think he had center last year too, if I recall right. I
yeah.
think he
I
played some in center.
I really loved him as a bench guy
Yep.
with
No, he's a
Profar up
great
there, but
yeah.
at least yeah,
But
I'll end up
that's
upgrading there eventually. But unfortunately, I tried trading Heliot Ramos to every team in the whole league, and then the day after I finally do that, Profar gets suspended.
yeah. That's naturally how it works. But I mean, you'll be able to find a trade partner and stuff like that. But also, the to kind of go back a few seconds, this is why you have depth with Fraley
Yeah.
to cover for something like Profar.
Yep.
Also, I know you said you were relief heavy. Now, I went relief heavy too. That's probably where I had you and Alan at the biggest difference is you didn't, if I recall right, have much starting pitching. But let's go.
Well, that's exactly it. His starting
Yeah,
pitching is far superior to mine.
yeah.
Um, I just didn't think it was that big of a gap to warrant. It was mainly the lineup. I was just curious about the lineup because I felt like I have him beat by a really wide margin at every single position except for left field.
And I
But
think it was more the versatility thing.
yeah,
That's
yep.
all. I mean,
No, I totally get that. Then, yeah, for the pitchers, there's not a whole lot to look at here. Edwin Diaz and Mason Miller, I think, are the two best relievers in the league. I think they're going to score a lot more points than every other reliever. I had Daniel Palencia and Ryan Walker, who I love both of them, but I traded Palencia to Brendan with Elmer Rodriguez, who I do really love as a prospect. And I did that to get Adolis Garcia. That could be some personal Phillies bias here, but I I am so high on Adolis Garcia in this league. I just think he was severely undervalued. I was talking about Fraley being the best $1 player in my opinion. I have Adolis ranked by far the best player in our league, signed to a single digit contract. So he's only $9. He's going to hit cleanup for the Phillies behind Bryce Harper. He's going to play every single day. They have absolutely nobody else. I think he finishes with over 100 RBIs, hopefully at least 20 homers. And I just think he's going to be really valuable at a $9 contract. So I did whatever I could to get him, and I had relief pitching depth. So Palencia was expendable. I got Taylor Rogers back in the deal, who I'm not super high on, but I think he's projected to open the year as the Twins closer. So at least he'll be in the mix to get saves. And then Ryan Walker, I traded to get Profar, so that obviously was a total loss.
what I want to look at something just real quick. Yes, there you go. And goes into our biases. I'm a Cubs fan. I don't
Hmm.
like Cardinals. I remember Garcia was a Cardinal
Yeah.
growing up. So I mean, that's just personal bias. You know that it's nothing ever against. You know, and I know you weren't saying I was against your team or anything like that, but it was just one of those things of anyone else looking at it probably has the same rating you do.
Hmm.
It's just a lot of those guys are guys I was out on. That's all.
Yeah.
And
No, I get it. Everybody obviously is going to have a different opinion, and everybody's going to like their team the best, or
oh, for sure.
otherwise, what are you doing?
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
get it. So yeah, I really do like my relievers.
Yep.
The top two guys. Then aside from them, Rogers should be in the mix for closer.
Hmm.
Brian King, I got in a different trade.
Hmm.
He he's going to be the setup guy in Houston, but at least in the beginning of the year, Josh Hader's out, so he's going to have a chance to get some saves. He's been good, so I like him. And Keegan Aiken is somebody who I really did acquire to get. So again, I've never done this league, this format, but just from my valuations, I think having a reliever who's going to put up consistent points with the starting pitcher eligibility is really, really valuable.
Yep.
So I wanted to target him and also Mike Vasil on the White Sox, who is going to be their bulk guy, it looks like. But Keegan Aiken is going to get save opportunities and a lot of holds. I have him projected as the third best dual eligibility reliever in our league behind Grant Taylor and who's the other one? Grant Taylor and Griffin Jacks. So Taylor is signed for $13. Griffin Jacks is 10. Aiken's only $3. So I thought he was really valuable. And I traded Jared Triolo to get him, who you guys did say you liked in the rankings you did. And originally I did like him too, but then just thinking logically here, Connor Griffin's unbelievable. He's going to play sooner rather than later. And once that happens, to me, I think Triolo is the odd man out in that and ends up going to the bench. So I wanted to trade him for whatever value I could get before that happened.
I got you. Nope, I get it. And
And yeah,
that is
starting
go.
pitchers are obviously just not great. That was my weak spot. So I'm hoping I can trade for somebody as the year goes on. Robbie Snelling's in the minors, who I am like irrationally high on. He's it for the most part. I know you guys said in your other interviews, anybody's available for the right price. I'm generally like that, but Robbie Snelling's one guy that I'm not trading no matter what.
You mentioned something, and I know I'm pretty sure I said it out loud. If I didn't say it out loud on the pod, I'm going to say it now. Having those relievers who are SPRP eligible is huge in this league.
Yeah.
I tried to get in on them, but I think once I looked at that point in the auction, none of them were worth anything. I'm guessing when did you put when do you remember you got Aiken?
So Aiken, I traded for. He's the guy
Okay.
I traded Jared Triola to get him.
Okay, so you didn't know when he went off. Did you win Vassell in the auction?
Yeah, I got him
Vassell.
at the very end. He was one of the
Okay.
last guys. I was waiting all auction to hopefully sneak him through for $1 at the end.
Then you got him for two.
Someone else nominated him, and I went to and got him.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, no, I mean having those guys who have that flexibility is huge in this league, especially with starting pitchers too. I mean, both you have Holmes who has that, and Paddock, and
Yeah.
you know, because then you can get the most out of your starts, and you can also get the most out of your bullpen.
Exactly. So my thought process going into this was I knew that to pay up to get Diaz and Miller and to have the hitters that I wanted, my weak spot was going to be starting pitching, and I was okay with that just based on you can only start 7 of them per week anyway. So if I was going to have a weak spot anywhere, that's where I wanted it to be. There's no sense in having 10 great starters on your team and having to bench 3 of them and losing points there. So that was kind of my mindset. I figured that I trust my evaluation of pitchers in the minors to be able to find guys to come up and contribute at some point, such as Robbie Snelling. But I have enough guys here who at least I'm going to be able to get the 7 starts every week. So they may not be the best starts, but they're gonna get me to 7 starts, and just having my hitters put up the points I'm expecting and the relievers put up the points I'm expecting, I just think I have a team to be able to make a deep run.
What by your analytics of this in the scoring format, what do you feel is a goal you want to score each week points wise?
That is something I have actually not figured out yet, but I easily could by saying how many weeks do we have in the season?
20-ish, I want to say.
Let me see if I could just quickly find that on here. So it looks like there's 24 scoring periods, but some of them might be playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's 20.
All right. So if we divide what I'm expecting my team to score this year by 20, that would be me averaging about 440 points a week. So you would know better than me what it's going to take to win a normal week in this.
If you score that, you would win the league going away. I'll tell you that much.
So I'm figuring, just based on my numbers here, the target is going to be. Let me see. I'm thinking the target that you want to score each week is above like 375. If you score 375 a week, that should give you a good chance to win.
Okay. Yes, a really good chance to win. My target's always, and I always, I guess, go conservative. Mine's around 300 each week.
Well, if I have any weeks under 300, then I did something terribly wrong,
I
or I
got
got
you.
hit with a lot of
Nope,
injuries.
I got you. I got you. No, that's, and I try to go with that because I want something I know I'm going to be able to achieve, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever know what my high end is, but I always try to want to get to around 300 is what I look
Yeah.
at. I haven't even ran the numbers of what I've got, and I just have a rough idea because I mean, this is like my 5th or 6th year in this setup.
Yeah.
So I know what I go after. I go after versatility. I usually go after what you mentioned, which was 10 to 11 starting pitchers, just because
Mm-hmm.
I know how quickly those guys go down.
Yeah.
In this auction, the starting pitcher prices just did not sit well with me, so that's why I went the reliever route. It's not
So
about my. Go ahead.
so going into this draft, when I did value all my players going into it, I did have like a huge emphasis on the guys that played multiple positions. Like I
Mhm.
had those guys valued really high. I said to Brendan like before, maybe during our draft, Michael Garcia was the one player that I was not willing to leave this draft without. Like I think he was the best player that had that many different positions he could play. And after that, the next guy that I said I wasn't leaving the draft without was Willie Castro. And then the Athletics ended up just continuing to bid me up on him. So I could tell the Athletics really value that because every single player that I thought I was going to get for the dual position eligibilities ended up going to him. I had Castro really high. I had Andres Jimenez or Ernie Clement was the main one I had really high. So, but Clement went for like $16. So I definitely can see the Athletics like those guys a lot too. And Brendan said something to me when I told him Willie Castro was my guy. Like he doesn't value that, and he kind of said if you just get a guy that is going to play pretty much every day, like, what does it matter? Why do you need that? So if you have weak spots in your lineup, I guess it makes a lot more sense to shuffle those guys around and make sure you always have one of them to plug and play somewhere. But when you have guys like Acuna, Freddie Freeman, Bregman, like those guys are playing every day. So I'm not as worried about it.
Nope, nope. And that's Frank. He he's been in this format just as long as I have, and he does value that positional versatility. I can
Yeah.
tell you that for a fact. Um, let's see here. Well, is there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, I like my team. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited to start competing. Uh, yeah, it seems like this is a really, really good group of guys. I think we're gonna have a very fun league.
Uh, I'll definitely agree with that. Most, at least half of them I've been in leagues with, or have started to be in leagues with, and yeah, I think it'll be good. He's got something set. I don't think people know that. Like the rules look kind of just there, but when they need to be enforced, we will let people know.
Yeah,
We're not going to accept not setting your lineup for probably even 3 days, let alone 3 years, like you said in that
yeah,
one league. Like they some of these things may seem like it's going to be tough to police or whatever, but a lot of us have done this long enough. Like, we're not going to let you have a guy sit in the IR who's activated 2 days ago. Like,
hmm
this is this is something that it's a daily commitment once we start up here. And what's opening day this
I
year?
think we're like 2.5 weeks away, maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, once that starts up,
Yeah,
if you're not ready to be locked in every day, this is probably not for you.
yeah, and that's the way it should be for sure. The other 30 team leagues I'm in, the rule was if you had a player get called up that you had in the minors, you were allowed to leave them there the rest of the season for no
No, that's
penalty. And like people just did that, and by the end of the year, they have 15 guys down there who like aren't even eligible to be there anymore. So I just was over that. So my intention was this year I am still doing those leagues,
Mhm.
but my hope is after this season I leave both of those leagues and can just focus on this one.
If I were a betting man, I would say you will probably put most of your focus here.
Yeah, that's
The-
that's definitely my intention. Oh, you know what? One other comment I will make. I mentioned this to Brendan before we really even drafted or joined, just when I was picking apart the rules and really giving him some of my comments and questions. I'm hoping that at some point in the future, the league is more open to expanding the minor league spots from 30 to a higher number. The other leagues I've done have 50 spots in them, and I personally love that just because I'm very active on the waiver wire for picking these prospects up. I might not be as much in this league just because we're limited with only having the 50 fab, but in those other leagues, I'm picking up prospects and cycling them weekly just based on who's hot because I'm in tune with that and following those guys. So there are a lot of prospects still out there that I would love to have rostered on my team right now and just can't because we only have 30 spots. So I'm hoping at some point in the future a conversation can be had about maybe expanding that and letting teams roster more.
I know the original league that this is kind of modeled after only had 20.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So
So from his perspective, 30 was a lot and a
yes,
big step up. And it's the least that I've had in a league that I've done. So it's a step down, but
gotcha.
it's not the end of the world.
No,
I'm sure I'll
and
have more than enough spots to do what I want.
you are not the only person who will be churning through those prospects like that
Hmm.
with your
Yeah.
fab.
And
Uh,
I also think that maybe the rule about having to promote the guys right away will change that because you can't stash them down there. So the
correct.
leagues where I have 50 spots available, you can
You can
stash
just
guys
stash
there
it.
the entire season. So maybe it'll wash out and the same pool of guys is what we're churning from anyway.
Yeah, it probably might do that because I mean, unlike those other leagues, I'm guessing they had that 50-150 thing for prospect status. There
Yeah.
wasn't any stat. In this league, it's any stat,
Yeah.
a third of an inning pitch, a
Yep.
plate appearance, anything. That
Hmm.
guy now he's got to be called up.
Yep.
And you also have the 3 flex spots that you can do
Yeah.
whatever you want with.
Hmm.
Um, Now that once those open up, that's going to be really interesting to see how teams handle that.
Oh, yeah. I'm assuming the waiver wire after that week's going to be crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Is there anything else you want to cover?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
Um, yeah, I think we're good.
all
Appreciate
right.
you doing that. Definitely awesome that you take so much time out of your life to dedicate this and get on and do with everybody. So I know everybody's busy and definitely appreciates your commitment.
That was it. That I'm not this old and I shouldn't be forgetting these things. But do your other 30 team leagues have podcasts?
I've never, this is the first one I've ever done, seen anything like that. So no, this is very new to me, but it's a very cool feature of the league. And I think it'll help keep guys engaged. And it's
Yes.
nice to get to know each other, put a face
Yeah.
to some of the names. And yeah, I mean, you said you've played with about half of these guys in leagues before. I've never talked
Yeah.
to anybody or done a league with any of them prior to this. So it's nice to get to know people a little bit better.
And are you always from the Northeast?
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey. I still live in
Okay.
New Jersey.
Okay.
So this is where I've been. My house is 15 minutes away from the Philly Stadium. I'm right over the bridge.
Okay. Cool. Cool. All right.
Hmm.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Everyone have good rest of your day. I'm after this probably going to go take a nap before work. So.